Are you smarter than a fifth grader? It's an age-old game played from parties all the way up to talk TV show hosts like Jimmy Fallon. But have you ever stopped and actually wondered to yourself, do you even want to be smarter than a fifth grader? Let's play a little game ourselves. Raise your hands if you've ever learned how to find the area of a triangle. Okay, that should be all of you, but keep your hand raised if you've ever learned, I don't know, how to graph sine x. Okay, but now keep your hand up if you've ever walked into a classroom and learned what an insurance premium was. If you ever walked into a classroom and learned how to pay off a mortgage or a student's loan. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because in America, we've let our education system become so complacent in sending off our children into 12 years of mandatory education to learn what? That the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? I mean, that might be important and all, until you hand that same kid a contract for hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans when they go to college. A D1 contract, a contract into the NFL or the NBA. Because then everything you learn falls right apart because we never taught them what a contract even is. So in the next 6 minutes, let me, as a high schooler, tell you my perspective into how financial literacy has become so much more than just an elective. It's not even a core subject. It's a life or death skill, and it's time we start treating it like one for every single school, in every county, in every state, for every single kid, K through college. Because unlike everything else in school, financial literacy might be the only thing that every single person who graduates will need to use in real life. So let me show you first the problem, that the fact that people have fixed it in the past and what we as American citizens need to do. But first, let me describe to you the problem, because I guarantee you it's probably so much worse than you might think. In fact, the Standard & Poor, or S&P, ran one of the longest and largest financial studies in the world just a few years ago, across 150,000 adults in 140 countries. They found that across 5 very basic financial questions that everyone will need to answer as soon as they get their first paycheck on interests, inflation, compounding, and risk, they found that only 57% of American adults could pass. 57%. In the largest, most bolstering economy in the world, only 4 in 10 people in the United States are able to answer basic questions about their money. That puts us 14th in the world according to the S&P. Behind countries like Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, who themselves have proven over a 71% financial literacy rates. But that doesn't just put us behind 13 countries. It puts us behind countries and leaders who have proven time and time again, across decades, that financial literacy needs to be in the core of their educational curricula. And it's worked for them. Why won't it work for us? In fact, we need to start following in their footsteps as soon as possible, because not only is it so bad right now, it's only getting worse. The TIAA Institute has been testing American adults on their personal financial literacy rates every single year since 2017. And just as of 2025, they found that every American who participated in the survey only answered about half of the questions correct. Now the saddest part is that in the past 9 years since 2017, that number has only risen 1%, and yet nobody is changing anything. Okay, sure, well, American adults are failing their personal finance, but why does that really matter? For the kids in this room, for high schoolers, and for teachers? Well, it matters because every single year since then, the National Financial Educators Council asked American adults about their money. They asked them how much money that they think that they have lost because of their own ignorance, that they have lost because they don't know how to invest, they don't know how to save. And before I even give you the answer, think to yourselves, how much money do you think you have lost because of your own personal ignorance? Because of gambling because you thought it was fun, because investing into something that really wasn't worth it? Well, the answer that the TIAA Institute found was on average $948 per person. Now that doesn't sound like much, but when you compound that across the millions of American adults across the US, that compounds to 246 billion US dollars. That's 246 billion per person per year across the entire country. Now stolen, not taxed even, simply just lost because of overdraft fees, unpaid loans, and because of bad decisions. Because no one taught us how to make the good ones. $250 billion down the drain. With that, we might even be able to pay our teachers what they're worth, but instead, it's just a tuition that we keep paying into because we fail to teach our youth about their own money. And here's the point that should get you so much more angry. It's not anything I've said before. It's the fact that that teaching personal finance has already proven to work, not internationally, right here in the United States. In fact, in states like Georgia, Idaho, and Texas, where they have instituted personal finance courses as a mandate before graduation of high school, the Federal Reserve researchers tracked those kids into adulthood, and they found that those kids had lower default rates and paid all of their funds back. Credit scores went up 11 points in Georgia, 16 points in Idaho, and 32 points in Texas. And all it took was one semester of a personal finance course. 32 points on average of an increase in credit scores in Texas, one of the largest populated states in the country. And yet, we still don't give it to every single kid in the country. As of today, only 26 states in the United States guarantee and require a standardized, standalone personal finance course. And the rest of the 24, they might sprinkle it a little bit into an existing econ course, if even. But a watered down version simply isn't as impactful or enough to actually tip the needle. Their personal finance, the personal financial competency of American high schoolers are put into their weight of their zip codes. And let me be the first to tell you that the students in the zip codes who are least likely to get this training are the people who need it most. Only 1 in 4 high schoolers right now graduates having ever taken a course about money in general. And college, don't even get me started, because somehow we can let an 18-year-old sign off on a $100,000 student loan contract, and we don't even teach them what a contract is. It simply doesn't make any sense. But what can we do? Well, I personally think it's a 3-step process and 3 ways that we can actually fix this. The first is that every state government really needs to create a standalone guaranteed personal finance course before graduation. And because if it's worked in 26 states, what's stopping it from working in the other 24? The second is that everyone needs to start early. And even if our government doesn't force us to learn personal finance, that doesn't mean you can't do it either. It doesn't mean that you can't teach your kids. Sure, a 10-year-old might not be able to learn about what an insurance premium is, but saving, waiting, discussing what wanting versus needing is, you can teach that to someone as early as elementary school. Money habits start early. Money teaching should start even earlier. And third and finally, any college who has the ability and desire to give people student loans to 18-year-olds needs to make sure that they provide the right resources for every student to understand what that loan does to them in the future. Because otherwise, we're putting them into a lifelong student loan trap without ever telling them what it actually means for their future. None of this is expensive, and it definitely is not as expensive as the $246 billion that we lose every single year to our ignorance. We already have the teachers, we already have free curriculums, we already have existing research. The only thing that's missing is a decision. Let us be the first to take that step, because unlike most subjects in school, every single student, I can guarantee you, in every high school in the country that graduates will have to manage money some point in their life. Unlike math, science, or English, it's the one subject in school that is guaranteed to be used by everyone, and yet it's the one subject that we neglect, the one subject that we shift off as an elective. But it's so much more important than that. Because we don't have a money problem, we have a teaching problem. And with so many things in the United States, we've proven that we can fix teaching problems. So let's be the first to do that. Now let me leave you with one last question. Why isn't money taught in school? We don't know the answer right now, but we can make it together. Thank you.